Good evening, Internet World and Universe. This is OR Ash, back once again to design some more Pokemon. Today we're going to be jumping back into the past and looking at a couple more ancient Paleo forms. And this time, no need for a lengthy intro, because people definitely watched the last video. Definitely. No need to re-explain it whatsoever. Anyway, let's go ahead and crack open the Paleo records and take a look at Paleo Slakoth. Now, modern-day Slakoth is a pretty rad Pokemon already, and even has some pretty good evolutions. But I'm surprised that we've never gotten a Grass-type variant. Sloths in real life are known to have algae and moss growing on them. Hell, that's the most common joke about them being so slow that plants grow on them. Granted, it's technically because it's a specific species and a symbiotic relationship, but that's not the point. The point is, I want a slow, moss-covered boy, so that's exactly what I did. Typing-wise, I'm going to make him a grass normal type, because he is essentially the same normal boy, just with a little bit of garnish, you know. With that, here is Paleo Slakoth.
Slakoth, the symbiotic slacker Pokemon. This Pokemon is said to move so slowly that one day plants started to sprout in its fur. Many scientists theorize that the algae in its fur was at one time a separate living Pokemon with a mind of its own, and it chose to live alongside Slakoth symbiotically.
Now, with Paleo Slakoth's evolution is where I decided to change things up just a little bit. At first, I was actually going to chop the evolutionary line down to only be 2 stages. This is because the first evolution that I made for Paleo Slakoth kind of already felt like a final stage. And if I did anything past that, I feel like it would have just been over-designed or something and just feel off. So instead of giving Paleo Slakoth 2 new evolutions, I'm actually going to give him a new evolution and a new pre-evolution. This stems mainly from the fact that I've always thought that Slakoth looked more like one of those awkward middle stage Mon. But also, baby sloths are adorable, and we don't have a baby sloth Pokemon, and I wanted to make one, so yeah. I did try to replicate that cutesy rounded design scheme that a lot of Babymon do have. I feel like I did a decent job. I also wanted to shape his fur pattern to look a bit like footy pajamas, since this is a baby after all. As far as his typing, I'm going to be making him a grass normal type as well, since he is essentially just a smaller Slakoth. But I call this little guy Slakip. Slack as in lazy, also the shared naming convention that most of this evolutionary line has, and also the word kip, which means nap in Scottish and a small or young animal pelt in Dutch. Anyway, here is the extinct pre-evolution to Slakoth named Slakip.
Slakip, the treetop Pokemon. Slakip spend all their time hanging from tree branches asleep. It's believed that they used so much energy photosynthesizing, they had none left to move on a regular basis. If a Slakip ever fell from a tree, they would force themselves to evolve just so they could have enough energy to climb back up.
Now finally, we are on to Slakoth's extinct evolution, and it is a big boy. Because the Paleo forms that I'm doing in this series are meant to be ancient and extinct creatures, there are quite a few real-life animal examples that I wanted to use as inspiration for some of these Pokemon. One of those being Megatherium, also known as the extinct Megasloth. Megasloths were giant land animals existing about 3.5 million years ago. And when I say giant, I mean really fucking big. These guys were like 20 foot tall. Just imagine stacking 2 bears and a sloth in a trench coat. For my concept, this massive mon was to be a gentle forest giant, covered in moss and plants, making him one with nature in an almost mystical sense. And since mystical is magical and magic means fairy type in Pokemon, I'm replacing the normal type with fairy type, making him a grass fairy type. And with that, I am dubbing this big boy Slakhemoth. Again, slack is in lazy, and it's the shared name thing, but I'm also adding in the word behemoth, because he's a big old boy, and he's a behemoth.
Slakhemoth, the green giant Pokemon. This Pokemon was said to slowly roam about forests, tending to its trees and using its mystic connection with them to help them grow. Remains of this Pokemon have only ever been discovered in the root systems of large trees, and it's thought that the tree itself sprouted out from its corpse upon death.
And that's it for this time around. Just a quick little video for some slow mossy boys. Please let me know what you think of them in the comments below. This was really fun to work on these guys. They're very adorable. As always, if you want to see the shiny variants of these guys, make sure you check out my socials linked in the description. And while you're down there, check out some of our other links, such as our newly refurbished Ink Tower Twitch channel, where you just might see me working on some of these live. And of course, our Patreon. If you'd like to see behind the scenes content and sneak peeks for other projects that we got going on, consider joining the Patreon. Other than that, thank you guys so much for watching, and as always, I am ORAsh, and I'm surviving. Are you? Peace.